So, seasonal depression is a thing, and winter can be a dark time for a lot of people, especially because it's quite literally darker, with shorter days or less sunlight, holidays being a trigger for some people, and many other factors at play. But just like a cold, you can catch the blues at any time. These periods of emotional lows are not reserved for the winter alone. They can be experienced at any point of the year, for any reason, however many times. I should know. Here's my noticings of how I tend to navigate periods of depression in general. Okay, so for me, this usually begins in the middle. And by middle, I mean the eye of the storm, where there's sunshine and blue skies, but rather when I'm in the thick of it and haven't realized it yet. Taking place in the subconscious, I'm unaware of storms are brewing beneath the surface. It kind of sneaks up on me because it's gradual. While this is happening, I'm likely doing some unconscious self-soothing with autopilot coping mechanisms, like consuming my time and energy with distractions, retreating, interacting with people less, staying in bed more, and indulging in comfort foods and guilty pleasures. At some point, I become aware and I name that experience. In my head, I'm like, oh shit, I'm experiencing depression right now. I try to identify it as an experience without attaching it to my identity. Distinguishing the difference gives it a lot less power over me. Depression is not who I am. It is just one of the infinite kinds of human experiences. That mindset makes it less scary for me to face. Once I'm aware of the state I'm in, I accept it. Like, okay, this is where I'm at right now. In the past, I would probably try to hang on to whatever little bit of denial I had left until I was forced to fall and hit rock bottom. Or I'd immediately try to make myself think and be positive. Now I am wiser and choose not to resist, because fighting the experience of depression just intensifies it and stacks another layer of negative emotions on top of the ones that I've already been feeling. When I become aware of a hurricane, I don't naively try to square up with it anymore. I've learned that just makes it worse for me, and it beats my ass every time. Instead, I hunker down, retreat, take shelter, and wait it out, or brace for impact, so to speak. While the storm is doing its thing, I'm able to put my energy to more effective use in the following steps. I remember and remind myself that this is temporary. I've been in this state plenty of times before, and I've been out of this state plenty of times before. The reassurance that this does not last forever helps to ease my mind a little bit. I release expectations of how I should feel and let myself be where I'm at, making the effort to snap myself out of judging myself for experiencing depression, reiterating to my ego that you can't shame yourself into happiness, into feeling good. You can't shame yourself into feeling genuine positive emotions. That's oxymoronic. I allow myself to enjoy comfort foods and guilty pleasures, as opposed to in the past where I would unconsciously self-medicate with emotional eating and binge watching Netflix with zero self-control while self-critic is on 100. Now I'm aware enough to consciously make the decision to allow myself the freedom to indulge, and there's a sense of empowerment that comes with that, as opposed to feeling enslaved to the binging I used to experience. That seemingly insignificant shift from doing the same thing unconsciously versus consciously actually makes a world of a difference and has led to me overindulging less and less over time. I embrace the cleansing and clearing benefits of crying. This is a potent practice, an understated revolutionary act within my personal journey, because when I was younger, I was ridiculed and embarrassed for being a crier, which conditioned me to feel extremely unsafe to cry, or express myself in any other way for that matter. I internalized that and developed the habit of then shaming myself for crying. Even when I was alone in private, I tried my hardest to repress my own tears as they flooded my eyes and swallow any accompanying sounds attempting to project from my vocal cords. After countless years of bottling up emotions, I know how detrimental it is to my mental, spiritual, and physical well-being to suppress myself. So now I've been actively unlearning that as I welcome the flow of tears and embrace it when I cry. It's become yet another form of freedom and energy release for me. When I'm in the thick of it, there are times when I can be in a blurry haze, because my mind is clouded by whatever depressive thoughts or perceptions I'm holding at the time. So when the mental fog begins to clear a bit, I start to do a little bit of grounding, making an effort to tune into my body and pay attention to the physical sensations of this emotional experience, using deep breaths to help move out some pinned up energies, stretches to loosen up tightness and tensions, and massages to ease discomforts. As I continue to become a little bit more clear-headed, I start being more selective, becoming more mindful of the things that are perpetuating this low vibrational state, like content I'm consuming from the news, on YouTube, social media, and movies or shows in the crime, mystery, or drama genres. Thinking to myself like, if this is adding to the shit I'm already feeling, then I need to subtract it. In time, I'm even more clear to identify internal dialogues that are not serving me well. Noticing thoughts that don't actually feel good to think. Like, yeah, that's not helping. And then shift my attention to something else more pleasant. Needless to say, experiencing depression is emotionally draining, which, less talked about, can coincide with being physically exhausted as well. So during these periods, I tend to have low energy and no motivation to do anything, and usually stay in bed all day. Feeling stuck and confined, while also checking in and looking for those brief moments, tiny windows of subtle inspiration to do something. Or I create those windows of opportunity by taking passive action, like watching movies or shows that are lighthearted and make me laugh and smile, documentaries of people's lives that tell the story of their journey to success, whatever that looks like for them, videos that inspire me creatively and spark my creativity, or educational videos where I learn something new related to my life's visions, goals, or projects that I'm working on. When I do notice the presence of a little motivation within me, I encourage myself without pressuring myself to go micro, like I mentioned in the last video, and take tiny steps. When I have a little momentum of tiny steps going, the next thing I start yearning for is fresh air, so I gladly oblige, turning those figurative steps into physical steps with walks in nature. After a while, I'm drawn to interact with humans again, reconnecting with whichever beautiful beings I feel called to at the time. Next thing you know, I find myself out of the storm and in the clear. Yet again, expressing gratitude that the storm has passed, like they all eventually do.